You're tuned in to Voiced Thoughts Talk Show and Podcast, a forum where we discuss and explore society-based topics while advocating and providing information and resources to the community through an unscripted, unfiltered, and authentic approach. Listen on Spotify, iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, and Apple Music. Watch us on YouTube. Join our Facebook group. Follow us on social media, Instagram, TikTok, and Facebook at Voiced Thoughts Talk Show and Podcast, your society-based channel. Welcome to another episode of Voiced Thoughts Talk Show and Podcast. I'm your host, and my name is Danette Mahabeer-Turner. And today we have an exclusive episode lined up for you. But before we get into that, we want to take the time out to highlight our title sponsor for Season 3, Evergreen's Plant Shop, Coffee House, and Wine Bar, located at 4677 Alvin Barkley Drive, Paducah, Kentucky. Evergreens strive to provide an experience as well as a great cup of coffee. So stop in for a great experience. Our guest today needs no introduction. It is our Paducah's Mayor, George Bray. Welcome to the show.
Thanks, Danette. Been looking forward to this for some time.
Yes, I know, we're on crunch time right now. We're in late October, and under 2 weeks, it will be election.
13 days.
Oh, 13 days, 5 hours.
But who's counting?
Right.
Who's counting?
All right, so with our title sponsor, before we get into the nitty-gritty of things, Jean, she's amazing, always provide us with 2 featured drinks. And so today, of course, we're in October, so we have 2 drinks. So you have a trick-or-treat you actually have a Dia de los Muertos chai, and it's almond vanilla horchata chai. So I want you to taste it, tell me what you think.
It's unbelievably delicious.
See, I'm a lover of chai.
I'm a lover of chai as well. So we ended up fighting over this one,
right.
but yeah, it's delicious, and I'm so proud of Jean.
Oh yes.
And how well she's done here in the shop, and
it's an amazing space.
It really is. It's a great location, and great atmosphere, great environment. So I would urge everybody to come and try this place.
I mean, there's so many exotic drinks, and I'm a lover of exotic drinks as well. So I'm having the Trick or Treat cold brew with vanilla. It looks a little bit purple, so we're gonna. That's good. That's really good. So once again, shout out to Evergreens for these amazing featured drinks. And you're going to need to take a sip here and there, because I got some really good questions for you today regarding leadership. As a city mayor, you're looking to be re-elected for another term. And, I think it's very important that we focus on leadership. So what does effective leadership mean to you in the context of being a mayor?
Well, as mayor, to me, leadership is the key issue in this election. I feel like that leadership as a mayor is really demonstrated, orchestrated every day in what I do, in the way I meet people and represent the community, the way that I lead our other commission members, in passing ordinances, in the way that I deal with our residents on a daily basis. And so leadership in the context of being mayor is, I think people are always looking at me, and usually favorably, but people are quick to criticize, if they think that I'm, if not on point. So leadership is really important, and I'm very aware of it, and I think it's very important that the way that a mayor leads his city is very important. It's extremely important.
Thank you for sharing. In your view, how can a mayor's leadership style impact the community and its residents?
Well, the way that I impact the community and the residents is, a number of different ways. First of all, I think I represent the community to other communities, to our congressmen, our 2 senators, to our legislators, our governor. So I represent who Paducah is to all of these people who influence what happens in our city. and not only in our city, but all of Western Kentucky. And I think as mayor of Paducah, I am mayor of the people who live within the city limits. But at the same time, I represent Paducah, the entire community, a lot of times. We do have a county judge, of course, who runs the county, and Judge Clymer and I work together on many things, and he certainly steps up and leads, from the county perspective. But I think a lot of times people look to the mayor, as the leader. And so the impact that I have on the entire community is very important. So my influence, my leadership, it makes a difference for everybody. So say the question one more time, just to make sure I got it.
In your view, how can a mayor's leadership style impact the community and its residents?
So, I don't really have much to add. I just think it impacts it, in many ways. It impacts it, again, the way I lead the commission, the way I deal with residents, the way I represent our city on the state and federal level. There are just so many areas where strong leadership is important.
Thank you for sharing. Can you share an example of a leadership challenge you faced in your political career and how you addressed it?
Well, probably the most challenging situation that I've had since I was elected 4 years ago was when we were faced with removing a commissioner from the commission. It was a very, very challenging time. All eyes were on us, and we had to work our way through a situation. Not everybody in the community was 100% aligned with us on the way we went about this. But from a leadership perspective, we had to look internally at who we were and what we stood for at the time, and make the very best decision that we could with the information that we had. And so as it turned out, we ended up removing a commissioner. He was reinstated fairly quickly, and so we certainly understood that there was a risk, or that could well happen. But at the same time, it was a situation where I consulted with our other commissioners. We talked about it at length, and we talked about it. We talked with the commissioner that was being removed at the time. So there was a lot of communication that went back and forth. We went through the process, and I feel like that it was very challenging, but it was something, if I had to do all over again, I believe I would handle it exactly the same way.
Thank you for sharing that. How do you believe a mayor can foster collaboration among various stakeholders, such as city council members, community organizations, and residents?
Well, I think as mayor, one of my primary jobs is really to convene people. It's to put people together in the community. So that's something I do every single day, whether I'm dealing with developers who are looking to come to Paducah. In fact, right after this meeting, I have a meeting at City Hall with a hotel developer. So whether it be dealing with a developer, whether it be dealing with a group of people who are dealing with homelessness or food insecurity or drug addiction, social issues that I have to deal with every day. I think one of my primary roles is to bring people together and ensure that there is collaboration. So one of the things as mayor that I have a lot of contacts, I have a lot of connections, I know a lot of people. I came into the job knowing a lot of people. I've met a lot more, both in government and in the community, in organizations, And so people often come to me and say, do you know this person, or can you connect me with this person? And so one of the primary things that I do is connect people. And when it's possible and when it's the right thing to do, I sit down and sit down with the parties and bring them together. So I think it's a very important role of the mayor is to drive collaboration in the community with citizens and in different groups. It's I just think it's a primary role.
It is indeed. What role does transparency play in your leadership approach as mayor?
Well, I ran on a platform of increased transparency. So it's been very important to me that our citizens know how government works, how the sausage is made. And I've tried to demonstrate that a lot in the way that since I've been elected mayor. One of the things that we've done that the previous commission had eliminated the opportunity for people to come to a commission meeting and talk about any issue, anytime. And so we reinstated that. And so people are upset, or if they want the commission to know their opinion about a certain thing, they can come to the commission, sign up, and they have 3 minutes, so they have to be concise and on point, but they can talk and make sure that the commission understands what their issue is and what they're feeling. And I think that's very important to us and very important to me as a leader. Last commission meeting before last night, somebody came and talked about Pines Road, which is a feeder road in the West End, that really needs upgrading over the long run. And she just wanted to let us all know that was great to hear from her. It's very important. Transparency comes in a lot of different ways. One of the things that we've done since I was elected is we moved our commission meetings around the city at different locations in hopes that we could get more people involved. I think one of the things when people come to City Hall and they come to the commission room and they see the dais up there, all the commissioners sitting up there, it can be very intimidating. And really we're just trying to, govern as best we can. That's the setup that we have, so we've been to churches, we've been to West Kentucky Technical College out here. So we've been different places in order to allow people the opportunity to come if it's closer to their home. And so that's something that we will continue to look at. Transparency, one of the things that I've tried to increase people, I want people to know what's going on in the city. And I think this is important not only to voters, to residents of the city of Paducah, but I think really to the broader community, those who live outside the city limits and those who live in surrounding counties. Because let's face it, Paducah is the county seat for McCracken County, excuse me, but it's also where several surrounding counties come to shop and eat, dine on the weekends, see concerts. So it's the city is very important. So getting the news out about what's going on in Paducah is very important. And so we've got an email list that's got many thousand people on it. Anybody can sign up and get the city emails that tells you about what goes on in commission meetings, tells you about what's going on, projects that we have going on. I mean, really, I'm amazed at the number of people that get these emails. So that's very important. And transparency is, one of the things that people there's this thing called open records, and everything that we say we do, really is kind of subject to open records, and so that's really a part of our everyday life, and so transparency is very important to me, has been very important to me, and will continue to be very important to me.
Thank you. That's a lot of transparency right there mentioned as well. How do you plan to balance strong leadership with the need for public input and community engagement?
Well, that's a really good question. I mean, strong leadership. I have a leadership styles come. Leadership comes in all different styles. When you've seen one leader, you've seen one leader. I mean, everybody's got a little bit of a different style. So I think my style is very collaborative. I want to understand how people are thinking, and I want to try to understand how my commissioners are thinking, because in our form of government, I only have one vote, and there's 5 of us, and it takes 3 votes to get things done. And so what's important to me is to keep my commissioners informed and try to stay as much as possible on the same wavelength with them. Now, we definitely disagree at times, and we work through those disagreements, but my style is very collaborative, and my leadership style. So I want to hear from my commissioners. I want to hear from people in the community about how they're thinking. But at the end of the day, when the decision comes down to it, we were elected to make decisions, and you're never going to make everybody happy. And try as hard as you can, it's just not possible. So you have to allow for input. You have to take that input, consider everybody's opinion, but at the end of the day, you've got to make a call. And I think that's what leadership is all about. That's why I was elected and my fellow commissioners were elected. And so every day we balance, the public opinion and others' opinion with leadership. So that would be my approach.
Oh, thank you for sharing. Amazing. In your experience, what qualities do you think are essential for a mayor to possess in order to lead a city effectively? And I know you talk about this a little bit here and there, but in particular, what qualities do you think are essential?
Well, I think as mayor of any city, but I'm mayor of this city, and so I was born and raised here. I know a lot of people. Went to high school with a lot of people that are still here. I come from a big family. Through my family, I know a lot of people. So I think, repeat the question one more time.
In your experience, what qualities do you think are essential for a mayor to possess in order to lead the city effectively?
So all of these connections that I have in the community, it's very important that you possess the ability, the skill set to talk with people from all walks of life. So, that means someone who is a business owner, someone who is an elected leader, someone who is homeless on the street. And so I think that a mayor's ability to connect with people from all different walks of life is very important. I think in a community like Paducah, I think that you have to have the ability to develop relationships with people, and develop those relationships, protect those relationships, and avail yourself of the opportunity that those relationships bring for the city. So I think, relationship management, the opportunity to, the ability to talk with people from all different walks of life, the ability to connect with people on all levels, and use that for the benefit of the city and for our citizens, I think is probably one of the most critical skill sets, for a mayor to lead a city, a small city like Paducah.
Oh yes, indeed. How do you envision your leadership influencing the long-term vision and goals for the city?
Well, I feel like I'm a business person. I've been in business all my life. I started in a business, as a teenager and even before. And so I've been around business all my life. And so I bring a business perspective to the city. I would like to think that the approach that I take is an approach that people like and believe is something that's good for the long term. So I would hope to instill into government more of a business approach that would last past me. And that is, when you look at a problem, you look at it objectively. You try to figure out the best way to attack that problem. You look at it objectively, and you apply a business approach to it. And I think that that's what we have done since I've been elected, or that's what I have driven. And I think the commission has agreed with me on that approach, and we have driven that down into the staff, the city staff, because really there's 5 elected leaders, but there's a city manager, an assistant city manager, and then a lot of different department heads that drive things in the community. So we're always driving this business approach down into the community. So I hope that my approach is something that would last, and probably more than that, I would hope that after me there would be somebody with a business approach who would look at what the city has accomplished under my leadership and say, you know what, I think I could do that. I think I would like the opportunity to help lead the city, and so I would like to set an example for others.
I love that. And actually, I'm going to piggyback off that with another question. Why is continuity in leadership important?
Well, I'll answer it this way. In my first 4 years as mayor, I've been on a learning curve. Anytime you go into a new role like that, there's a learning curve for anybody, whether or not you've been a commissioner before or not. So I think that when there is a learning curve, you understand how things work, but you always look back and say, if I'd known that before, I might have done something a little differently, or I might have taken another approach. So I feel like that continuity in leadership is important, because I believe in my second 4 years, I will be even more productive than I have been in my first 4 years. Feel like I've had a great first 4 years, but there have been learning opportunities, candidly, for me. But I believe in my second 4 years, we've got a lot of great projects going. We've got a lot of great things going on in this community, and so I think that continuity will make a difference. When I first was elected, I called up somebody who I didn't know very well at the time. His name is J.D. Cheney. He's the CEO of the Kentucky League of Cities. And I was really trying to figure things out. I remember exactly where I was. I was sitting in my car on Broadway. I'd just come out of a meeting with somebody, and I think JD returned my call, and we really hadn't even met face to face, but he knew I was a newly elected mayor, and I said, JD, I'm trying to, trying to figure this whole thing out, understand what's going on, and my city manager had resigned at the time, and so we were getting ready to undergo a search for a new city manager. And I said, when you look around the state of Kentucky and you see successful cities, what is the key to success? What do you see where you see our city that's really going? And he said to me, he said, Mayor, he thought about it for a second. He said, Mayor, he said, what I see is when you've got a long-term mayor and a long-term city manager that work well together, that is the most successful cities that I see. And so I've always remembered that, and I believe that continuity in leadership, and I know I can't serve as mayor forever. Mm-hmm. I know I have limits as to what I can do, but I do think continuity and the right kind of transition in leadership is very important, and I just I believe in it, and others have validated for me that it is very important.
Thank you for sharing. How do you measure the success of your leadership as a mayor, and what indicators do you look for?
Well, in business we call those KPMs, or key performance measurements. Mm-hmm. And I would have to say that, you can get touchy-feely out there, and, if you got happy citizens, not too many people are mad at you. There's some subjective measurements that you can go through, but I think the way that we need to measure growth, is in job growth. Mm-hmm. Our businesses are growing in the community. Our housing stock is increasing. Our population is growing. These are all statistics that are out there, that are trending positive for us. Now, do we have challenges and opportunities, to work hard in those areas? We certainly do. But I think we have to measure ourselves on the growth of our community, I think from if you want to get into the touchy-feely part of measurements, you could look at the relationship between the city of Paducah and the McCracken County mm-hmm. Fiscal Court. It hasn't always been a bed of roses. We've worked through some challenging situations, but all in all, we get along very well, and we've worked together on a couple of very large and important projects for the community. The Paducah Sports Park, which is going to drive sports tourism into this community, and then we are in the process of installing a new state-of-the-art 911 system. And I think we would all agree that the most important job of government is protecting its citizens. Absolutely. And so I set out, when I was first elected, to get that 911 system upgraded, and we're already doing that. So I think there's many ways that you can measure success, and being mayor of this city is certainly a challenging role, but I believe fervently, that we are on the right track, and we are experiencing success.
I love that. So I have one final question for you before you go today. What do you want your legacy to be as mayor?
My legacy. Well, I didn't think much about legacy, really until I got a master's in business kind of later in my career than most people, and I actually, in my master's program, I studied about legacy, and I think legacy is something that drives a lot of people, especially after you get into a certain age bracket. So I think my legacy is important to me. It's important because I want I want people to look back. My grandfather was a city commissioner in the late 40s. And I remember working on his campaign. And so I've always had a little bit of a bug to be involved in city politics.
Right.
But I think I want my legacy to be, that I approach things objectively. That as a nonpartisan mayor, very important point, that I served all citizens, regardless of, what party, they represented, what their income levels were, what walks of life they come from, and that I was a very fair and objective person, and that I was a good leader, and that I saw that what the things that Paducah most needed, that I was able to focus on the critical issues and work on those critical issues, for the benefit of our citizens. And, people look back and they always talk about, Albert Jones, and of course Mayor Bill Paxton, who's a friend of mine, served 3 different terms, and they always bring different mayors' names up, as this mayor accomplished that or this mayor accomplished that. I want people to look back on my tenure, as mayor, and look back and say, it was under Mayor Bray that we really got some really good things started. Our population began to grow again after many years of stagnation. He really went after housing, and we did this development or this development. We all talk about everybody wants a Target, everybody wants a new Kroger, everybody wants an upgraded grocery store, that sort of thing. These are things that I hear. Trader Joe's, that's another one I hear. People go out of town to shop for. Hopefully, we'll have an opportunity to gain one of those retail shops, one of those retail outlets here. In order to do that, you have to grow. You have to have more population. You don't necessarily have to have the population here, but you have to be able to draw it from the outlying counties, where people come to Paducah and shop. So I want people to look back on my legacy, and I want my legacy to be growth. I've always worked for a company. My career was for a company that was very, very successful. I was always driven to growth, and I feel like that growth is good for this community, and that is what I strive for. And I want people to look back and say, we really got things started under Mayor George Bray.
Thank you so much for sharing, and thank you for being my guest today on this exclusive episode. We know in 2 weeks it is time.
It'll all be over, one way or the other.
Right. We want to wish you the best, on this last leg as you campaign for your second term as mayor of Paducah. I want to give a big shout out once again to our title sponsor for season 3, Evergreen's Plant Shop, Coffee House and Wine Bar, located at 4677 Alvin Barkley Drive, Paducah, Kentucky. Evergreens strive to provide an experience as well as a great cup of coffee, so make sure you stop in for a great experience. I'll tell you where you guys can actually find Voice Thoughts Talk Show and Podcast. You can watch us on YouTube, you can listen on iHeartRadio, Spotify, Apple Music, and Amazon Music. Join our Facebook group, like our Facebook page, follow us on Instagram and TikTok at Voice Thoughts Talk Show and Podcast. I have been your host, and we'll see you on the next episode. God bless you.